Ladies and gentlemen, big hairy news.
Hey, kia ora koutou e te whānau. Welcome back to a brand new episode and brand new year of Big Hairy News. Kia ora, Chewie.
Kia ora, Pat. I am back.
You
If
are
you're
back. I'm back. Back.
We-
And Nala's
we-
back.
we-
Nala's back,
we're
but
not
she's
the
asleep.
We're not the ones that have officially brought back PHN this year. This is just our first appearance.
Yeah. Yeah, huge thanks to Emily and Magenta for filling in last week to get us off the ground. It was lots of stuff going on. Look, in all honesty, whānau, I thought we'd come back today, and I've got I saw this movie and that movie and this series over the holiday break, and, this is what we might look at doing this year. And so to kind of have a sort of slightly like the first few days back at work, you kind of just get into it slowly and you just chill.
Nice light show.
Nice light show.
In and
Yep.
out.
Your sound needs
Just
to go up,
catch
Joey,
up.
by the way.
I've just turned it up.
Okay,
I
cool.
saw the chat.
Yep. And look, I saw someone last week. I was watching some internet news, some of our colleagues from America, list off, I should have had it too. List off like 8 horrific things that sound like, let's look back over 2025, and it was the weekend that had just gone. So it is very, 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 very good to be back. But we are going to hit the ground running. There are some things to tell you about to do with the show this year, some things we're looking at, some things we're trying out. And we'll give you some updates as we go through the week. We're not just going to do a big mess of, hey, this is what's happening on the rest of the year tonight, because we've got too much to get straight back into. People are still saying you're about a third of me, Chewie, if you're able to go up a little bit at all.
Well, I have my settings maxed.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, that's going to be it for tonight,
that is
whānau.
interesting.
Might have to go back into your program file in Windows and up their source level a little bit. But that's okay. We're all right. We'll make it louder. They're still saying it, Chewie. So if you can, you can. If you can't, listen, no one expected a perfect technical show tonight. Let's be honest. Chewie was here at 10 to 9, whānau, because he was checking things out and he wanted to show us all about his brand new background. Do you see, people? Do you see the background?
Look, those
Yeah,
are
the
all
background.
T-shirts.
Yeah.
I have more T-shirts than I can possibly wear. So this is the best use of them that I could find, and also a form of soundproofing. So that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. First chat, I should say. First chat of the year. Get the megaphone out, Chewie. There you go. That was the first chat. And actually, before we get going, we just want to say thank you for the welcome back. Welcome back, boys, says Mike. And also Gold says, welcome back, guys. Hope you had a great break. Also 285 days to go. I guess we all now know, 7th of November, that Robbie, white man behind the desk, was right. He made his prediction over the break, and he put his name to it, and he was correct. And there we go. Yeah, it's going to be a huge year, guys. It's going to be big shows all the time. I am going to Waitangi on Monday, and I'll be up there for the week. Chewie and Ems will be rocking the ship from back here at home, and we'll be doing a bit like what we did last year. Except this time, I'm not in honeymoon. I've got a media pass. So look out, Waitangi. Pat with a media pass, walking around the upper marae, going... Last year, we tried to get closer to the marae when they were speaking, and how I wear my keys around my neck all the time, my lanyard, and someone waved us through, and as I was walking through, I went, oh, and they were like, oh no, that's not a media pass. You can go. They just saw the lanyard and thought it was a media pass, but it wasn't. So this time, we'll cause some trouble. Okay, so tonight, whānau, we are going to have a look. It's interesting. I put in the show notes that one of the topics I want to talk about to do with the tragedy at Mt Maunganui is also the conversation around climate change. The Prime Minister on breakfast this morning then was kind of challenged on that, and it came up in the news tonight. And I was thinking this morning we were going to talk about it. So it seems to be a current theme within the media that, hey guys, these things might be connected, and you might have to address one to help with the other. And this current government is well short and has left us wanting when it comes to climate change issues. We will get to that, along with acknowledging the tragedy. I just, to be honest, and this will come up later on, the idea that people are still in that slip is devastating and heartbreaking. And I saw a girl on 3 News maybe tonight, one of the news channels, and she was the student of the teacher who they're looking for. And she was at the slip, had come across to Tauranga, and was talking about how much she loved her teacher. And I just thought, imagine standing there knowing that someone you know or love was 20, 30, 40 meters away from you, but yet to be found. It's just, there's no words. There are no words that can put to the tragedy of that. The blame game has started. A time will tell whether it's appropriate or not, but it seems that within Tauranga there was a warning at 5 o'clock in the morning from some concerned local that there was some small slips. They did nothing about it. Whether that's a fair criticism based towards the council or a first responder or the camping ground, that's all to come out in the wash. If you know anything about us whānau, you know that we don't jump at these things and shout out from the rooftops what is right and wrong on day one. We will see what happens, but what a tragedy. Also, so out of the frying pan into the fire, say his name. His name was Alex Pretti. Devastating, horrific. I don't know how you can challenge anything but a murder. A terrorist
people are
act.
trying.
They're trying, but there we go.
People are trying.
So that as well tonight, along with some bits and bobs about our big hearing news. But let's get into it, shall we? Because we have a very special guest waiting for us, who has also been in the news a lot this weekend. And Little Bird tells me that he had a very, very busy day because some of the things he said about our friend and yours, Mr. Winston Peters, over the weekend. Let's welcome to the show. First guest for 2026 for us, it's Phil Goff. Phil, good evening to you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, tēnā korua. Good to see you.
Yeah, appreciate you coming with us. Appreciate you coming on board. Appreciate that sometimes the 9 o'clock slot's a bit different for some people, but you've had a busy old day in the media today,
it's been
talking about
continuous.
Mr. Peters, eh? And let's just have a look to bring everyone up to date with what's been talked about. Phil Goff, they just call you Goff. I don't know if that's appropriate or not, Mr. Goff. Phil Goff takes aim at Winston Peters' deafening silence on Trump's NATO comments, which of course does raise the question, what were Trump's NATO comments? So let's have a quick 60 seconds look at this, what Trump actually said, if anyone's been living under a rock for the past few days, and then we'll have a chat as to your responses about that, Mr. Goff.
I've always said, will they be there if we ever needed them? And that's really the ultimate test.
Downplaying the sacrifice made by Allied soldiers during the war on terror.
They'll say they sent some troops to Afghanistan or this or that. And they did. They stayed a little off the front lines.
Comments slammed as untrue and disrespectful.
And so I consider President Trump's remarks to be insulting and frankly appalling.
After America...
So Keir Starmer there, the Albanese's also spoken out on this. And I guess, Mr. Goff, your position was, oi, Winston, why the silence? Love to throw you the ball and get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it was good to see Keir Starmer come out because he had never taken on Trump before. And he had tried to ingratiate himself with Trump. You know, the Brits put a lot of value on the transatlantic alliance. But this went so far that he couldn't ignore it. And I'm appalled that our government leaders have ignored it, and in particular Winston Peters. Look, we lost 10 people in Afghanistan serving with the New Zealand Army, plus my nephew, who was a joint New Zealand-American citizen who was serving with the American 173rd Airborne. As Defence Minister, I attended the funerals of a number of those people who died, as well as, of course, my nephew's funeral in the United States. And I know the grief and the anguish that the loved ones of those who were killed went through. And to have this, I'm trying to think of a polite word, this
orangutan?
Yeah, the orange man boy, disparage our soldiers and the soldiers of
Yeah.
other countries
Yeah.
that fought for their countries and died for their countries was just intolerable. This is a man who dodged the draft 5 times. He said he had a bone spur on his foot and paid a doctor probably good money to get a letter to that effect so that he didn't go to Vietnam. But he's the man that then, of course, he attacked Senator John McCain. John McCain had been a naval aviator. He'd been shot down over Vietnam. He'd had a fractured, both arms were fractured. His leg was fractured. He landed in a lake and he nearly drowned. And Trump said this man wasn't a hero because he allowed himself to be captured.
Yeah, I think the quote exactly was, "I like people who didn't get captured." And there's one thing to remember about Senator McCain as well, is because of his position within the army, he had a chance to leave the prisoner of war camp,
he said,
and he
"The ones that were
declined because
captured
men
before me should be released before me." Now that is a hero in my mind. That is a man that suffered torture and still suffered to his dying day from the injuries he had, and Trump saw fit to belittle him and to denigrate him, and he did the same with every service person that fought in Afghanistan. You know, the suggestion that they were never on the front line, they were behind the front line. Yeah, tell that to Willie Appiata and the members of the SAS unit that we had fighting there. And I met with them in Afghanistan on a number of occasions. I know what our people did. I know the courage they took. I knew the high standards they set in terms of respecting people's human rights. And to have this guy then disrespect them and cheapen their sacrifice in that way, to me, is utterly disgraceful and intolerable. And have we heard a word of criticism from Winston Peters, from Judith Collins, from Christopher Luxon? Not a word. Now, you know, if it's good enough for Starmer to put the transatlantic alliance at some risk by challenging the narcissist that occupies the White House, it's good enough for our people in government to stand up for our servicemen that died and were injured there, and not a word from them. And I think that shows just how craven our leaders are in dealing with Trump. What we learned from Davos was 2 things. One, from Mark Carney, the Canadian Prime Minister, who gave a superb speech. He didn't mention Trump once by name, but it was clear from everything he said who he was talking about, that showed the way the world should be going. Because I know this about playground bullies, that when you appease them, you don't stop them behaving like that, you only encourage them. In fact, I'll tell you a little story just before I made my famous question in Chatham House in London that led to Peter's sacking me. I'd had dinner with a fellow High Commissioner whose wife used to teach in their home country. And she said that Trump reminded her of a playground bully. And she would watch them in the playground, and the bully would pick on a victim and would abuse that victim. And every other child in that playground would know that it was wrong, but nobody spoke out. And she said that made them the enablers. And I went to this meeting the next night thinking, for God's sake, I might be a New Zealand diplomat representing our government, but I don't want to be an enabler. But Peters is an enabler. He claims to be leading the quote-unquote patriotic party, but he's anything but. He's an admirer of Trump. He's even emulated Trump in saying that he, thinks that maybe we should pull out of the WHO, which is another topic. This stuff is appalling politics, and we need to call Trump out. But in this country, we need to call our own leaders out and say, show some spine, show some backbone, stand up for the values that have always made us proud as a small country that was prepared to sacrifice, but held its values proudly and stuck by those values. Trump has challenged every value that is the fundamental of our foreign policy, which is a rules-based international order where decisions are made according to values and rules, not according to might being right. That undermines our position in the world, and our leaders have been silent in challenging Trump on that. Now, look, if I was foreign minister, probably I wouldn't be using some of the language that I've used about Trump being an outrageous liar, which he is. But I would still be standing for those values and making them absolutely clear. And in regard to our veterans, I would not let that slide by me that he had called out our veterans as not having made a proper sacrifice, not having been there on the front line, not having had the courage to stand up and fight for against Al-Qaeda. That was despicable, and that will be to his shame to his dying day.
And I guess, Phil, Chewie's our resident historian when it comes to World War stuff, so I will default to Chewie in just a second. But before I do that, I just wanted to say, and I guess if anyone within that kind of political world has the right to speak out on Trump, Mr. Goff, it's probably you, who did literally put your money where your mouth was, and your High Commission position was rescinded. Can we put it that way? Is that a polite way of doing it? Based around some comments you made around Trump. So you're someone who's actually gone and stood up and said no. And the response from this government for that was like, shh, you can come home and stop doing that kind of talking. Yeah. Is that fair?
No, absolutely. Look, he has the right as Minister of Foreign Affairs to dismiss me, and I didn't make that the focus of my attention. I made what Trump was doing. What made me hugely angry about Trump was, first of all, he said that Ukraine had caused the war with Russia. And, usually it's the country that invades rather than the country that was invaded that is the aggressor. And then he said that Zelensky was a dictator. Well, Zelensky was elected in a fair and free election. He has never made that criticism about Putin, who routinely murders his opponents, like Alexei Navalny, poisoned and murdered in prison. And yet Trump has never criticized him. And then there was that awful scene in the Oval Office where Zelensky, who was trying to explain the plight of his people that was suffering every day and dying every day, being humiliated by Trump and Trump's offsider Vance, who is at least as bad as Trump in my mind, both despicable human beings. And we shouldn't tolerate that. We don't have to tolerate that.
And just as I throw you the ball, Chewie, just for people who didn't get quite the whole of it, NZ fires envoy to UK who questioned Trump's grasp on history. So you told the truth, Mr. Goff, and this government went, no, we don't like the truth being spoken. You're coming home. Anyway,
I quoted Winston Churchill, and I got sacked by his namesake. How bad is that?
Chewie, mate, this is yours. You can have it because
I was so glad to see your comments. I was stunned to see that Winston was letting that slide, and I took it exactly as I've taken everything that he's done or hasn't done with America at the moment, is that it is appeasement and it is admiration. I think he's furiously been taking notes because look, these tactics have worked for Trump in the US. And there's nothing that Winston likes more than an election. And I think we're just going to see more of this outright, like, well, I'm going to take off my foreign minister hat now, and I'm just going to say, yeah, the World Health Organization, that can fuck off. We shouldn't be part of that. Is just brain rot. And if we're staring down the barrels of one of the most militarily and financially powerful countries in the world deciding, hey, we don't need to follow the rules that we've all agreed on, we're the big dog, we can do what we want, might is right, there is no version of that playing out where New Zealand is in a good position. We exist.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the modern world based on the rules-based order, and people are going to, Luxon's given lip service to it, but they're not sticking their head above the parapet and going, no, we need this. Don't upset the apple cart.
Yeah. And I've had some people criticize and say, well, look, why would we put our head above the parapet? Well, you'll probably both know the famous quote from, I think, Pastor Niemöller, who was a priest in Nazi Germany, and his famous line was, first of all, they came for the communists, but I wasn't a communist, so I did nothing. Then they came for the Jews. I wasn't a Jew, so I did nothing. Then they came for the homosexuals, but I wasn't a homosexual, so I did nothing. And then they came for me. Look, there is no way.
Phil, just before you go, sorry, Phil, just before you go, you left the last bit out. and there was no one left to fight for me. That's the last part of that.
That was implicit in it. Yeah. Look, if we, we've as a government, our government has tried to ingratiate itself with Trump. Did that stop us from having a 15% tariff? Roughly 15 times what we charge on American goods and coming to New Zealand. Didn't stop us, Trump imposing that punishment on us. There is nothing, there is no bottom line with that, man. And you saw it over Greenland. He has absolutely no right to Greenland. First of all, he wouldn't rule out a military conquest of Greenland, which is part of the Kingdom of Denmark, which is one of his NATO allies, which, by the way, suffered the highest per capita fatality rate in Afghanistan. And then he said, if anybody speaks out in favour of Greenland, we're going to slap a tariff on them. And fortunately, finally the Europeans had enough and said, no, you slap a tariff on us, we will retaliate and we will stand behind Denmark. And by the way, 75% of the United States thinks that Trump is wrong on Greenland. But what it showed is that when you stand up against him and say there's a price that you will pay if you continue to do this, he backs down. Trump always chickens out. Yeah. But if you give way to him as the classic bully, he'll just take it as far as he can and keep on taking it further until he gets everything that he wants. We've got to stand up against that man. And it's not in our interests to be subservient to Trump. It's in our interest to stand by what we've always believed in and to build alliances with others so that we have that, strength and unity. And that's what Carney was basically talking about at Davos.
Well, I think in recent history, I think we've seen where this government is going. We've had visits from Kash Patel. We've had visits from Pete Hegseth. We've had Judith Collins spending time with Kristi Noel. This is not the government that is going to look at our alliances and review our position in the global scheme of things. We're not going to review our participation in Five Eyes, where one of the participants in Five Eyes cannot be trusted. Like I'm sure you've seen this story, Phil, the Ukrainians testing the Americans to see if they were leaking intelligence to the Russians. On 3 separate occasions, they fed information to the Americans and the Russians found out shortly afterwards. So now they've gone, we're not including America in our intelligence, we're just going to talk to France. So if we're participating in that global surveillance and the biggest piece of the pie cannot be trusted, should we still be in it?
Yeah, I've argued that the United States is no longer a reliable friend or ally, and it isn't under Trump. Look, I have some confidence that that Trump will be an aberration. Leastways, I hope that's the case. And what he's doing, he goes too far on everything. And you started off talking about what was happening in Minnesota. And what I despise most of all about that, I mean, first of all, the 2 people that killed were, I think, around 37. One was a mother with a 6-year-old child. The other was an intensive care nurse. They were quote unquote mainstream Americans. They were both, and you use the term murdered, and I use the same term because that's the word you use when somebody is intentionally shot without justification. Or murdered, killed without justification.
Either shot 10 times in the back or shot in the temple.
10 times. And the guy that shot Renee Good, the car, the video doesn't lie. It showed the car turning away. It showed her a very pleasant demeanor saying, look, we've got nothing against you personally, etc. He shot her 3 times and then called her a fucking bitch. Now, the worst thing about that was that the Secretary of Homeland Security then justified it and said that she was a domestic terrorist. They then said that Pretti was obstructing what they were doing and behaving aggressively. The video again shows that's a lie. But when you get top official standing up and justifying murder and lying about it, that's equivalent of the brown shirts in Nazi Germany. And, you know, again, I'm trying not to exercise any hyperbole, but that's the direction that the United States seems to be going in. And I
don't think it's hyperbole at this point.
No, I look, we're connected to several of the kind of leftist progressive podcasters and American news podcasters, and I've been on the blower to most of them this week saying, can you please come on? It seems your country is now going into a civil war, because many of those leftist commentators are like, everything that those right-wing conspiracy theories warned us about, that the left were going to do to them, the right, or under Trump, is now actually happening. People are getting disappeared. People who are carrying firearms, whether it was a smart idea for him to wear one or not, whatever, but who were legally wearing firearms, are being murdered for legally wearing. These things are happening. And when I read that, I think it was Kyle Kalinski's, but I'm talking about this is the starting of a civil war. I was like, holy crap. If you take this example of the last 12 months, put that on any country that's had a civil war, it kind of looks like the 12 months leading up to a civil war. So, yeah, we're going to hopefully chase that a bit more this week, but it's pretty scary.
No, it's pretty appalling. But what's interesting is that you're finally getting a few Republicans in the Senate coming across and saying, it was actually over Venezuela, the president actually doesn't have the power to do this, and voting with the Democrats. And, you know, you talked about 285 days to our election on November the 7th. It's 281 days to the midterm congressional elections. And I am really hoping that will be a rejection by the mainstream Americans of what Trump is doing. And look, the Republicans, when they're polled, show that they largely support Trump still. The Democrats have always opposed him. But the independents show overwhelmingly that they reject what Trump is doing. And the more extreme he becomes, the harder it becomes for those people to say, we can afford to have a replica of this man, if not this man himself, running the country for the next 4 years.
Hey, Phil, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on in this run-up to 2026 election. We'd love to have you on some more. I'm a little bit grumpy that somebody else had the idea of you guys getting together for a very, very good podcast, because that would have sat very nicely on the Big Hairy Network. But there is a lot of good things being said about your podcast. Do you want to tell us a bit about it and how people can find it?
Yeah. You can get it wherever you get your podcast. There's three of us on it. There's Chris Finlayson, the former National Party Minister of Treaty Negotiations and Attorney General, myself, and then Sam Collins, who has a role within the Labor Party. It's designed to get people, mainstream people, challenge what is happening in their country. We try to be as fair and balanced. Look, I'm a tribal Labor person. I've been Labor since I'm 15, and I'll die Labor. But you know, I've been around long enough to be able to develop relationships with people of all different political stripes. When I was mayor of Auckland, I worked with the Greens, I worked with Labor, I worked with national councillors on the council. So, you know, we're hardly radical commentators, but we try to be impartial and evidence-driven commentators. And we are getting a good response from people. We're building our followers up. We're getting a lot of downloads. So cross-party lines. So wherever you get your podcast, tune in and listen to what we have to say. We just before this program, we finished the one that'll come out at 6:00 tomorrow. Chris Finlayson was doing it from Salzburg in Austria. So where he's gone to listen to Mozart. So Chris and I come from quite different backgrounds and stables, but there's a surprising amount that we actually agree on, and including the Trump administration and including some of the regressive stuff that the current government is doing.
Very good. Well, Cross-Party Lines, this is the YouTube channel, as you said, on all good places to find the podcast. It's a very different world, Phil, from when you started in politics, as to how the news is disseminated and how information gets out to the general populace.
Absolutely. In the 40 years that I was active in public office, it's changed remarkably. You know, when we got the fax, we thought this was the latest thing in new technology. And now look what we're doing.
And I mean, Winston was around when the wheel was invented, so imagine what he thinks about things like cell phones now. So there you go.
No, absolutely. Yeah, funny, I'm beginning to think that by the time you're 80, you shouldn't be in politics. Just thinking of a couple of prominent examples.
Yeah, or potentially voting. Hey, Phil, thanks so much for joining us today. We will be back in touch. I'd love to have you back on again. Also, I've reached out a couple of times to Chris Finlayson, and he's always a very busy man. But yeah, what you guys is doing is great. And whether you find sort of being a balanced approach to life, what we kind of say here is I don't care about our bias as long as we're accurate. Challenge our accuracy, challenge our facts and figures. We are biased on this podcast, but we believe we're accurate. And if you can challenge our accuracy, more power to you. So more power to you.
Please.
And
Speak the truth.
Yeah, thanks for being on, and we will hopefully speak to you super soon.
Look forward to it. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Phil. All the
Thanks,
best.
Phil.
Phil Goff. There you go. Hey, well, we'll just Chewie, you any reflections before I jump to some chats?
Do you get the sense that Phil enjoys being off leash?
Yeah.
A little bit, and just like this is kind of there's always a reason that politicians talk the way that they talk, right? You've got to be a bit diplomatic, and you've got to think about how things come back to bite you and all of that sort of thing. And that's why I think we get often quite sanitized language from politicians, and that tends to make us a little bit grumpy because we just want them to call a spade from time to time. But now we've got that. And you see that a lot in his chats with Finlayson as well. It really is an excellent podcast if you're a political tragic like we are.
It's that idea as well, and I think there are people getting into politics who don't quite understand this, is when you're getting into politics, you can't just go off half-cocked on your own idea, because whatever you put out into the public, if it doesn't align with your party's messaging exactly, then the leader of that party gets said, hey, you're a candidate over there. They're saying this. And then, so when you come into politics, you do have to be quite structured around what you can say and do based on around the party, what the party says. And I just wondered, Chewie, it's the first time I've wondered it, but we often talk about when National Party or right-wing politicians who don't stay in politics. Because, lots of right-wing politics, left-wing politicians as well, will stay in that world, high courts or whatever else, high commissions. But if they move out of it, all of a sudden they find a heart. Those ones on the right, all sorts of people, including Senator McCain and including Chester Burrows, these people. And I wonder if it's just that as well. I wonder if, I'll be a little bit Pollyanna here, a little bit rose-tinted glasses. I wonder if some of these National Party in particular people are a bit more caring than they purport to be on paper when they're in politics. It's just that the National Party machine, am I going to say cunt on the first show back? I probably shouldn't. Maybe it's that the National Party machine is vicious. And if they want to play, they have to fit within that vicious system. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to kind of whitewash the nastiness and the ugliness and the terrible policies of the National Party. But I wonder, as you say, he's off leash. When Chester Burrows was off leash, the policies he stood up for about gang patches, he was like, nah, it's shit. Don't do it. You know what I mean? It's like, I wonder for at least the genuine people in politics if that's what happens.
Yeah, no, it's curious, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think there is one aberration there as far as like people saying what they want because you might not align with the party leadership, is that your Winston Peters can say whatever the fuck you want at all times.
Yeah.
And even when you're as part of a coalition, because he knows through experience and evidence, empirical study, that Luxon's not going to pull his chain on anything. So he can just go off and say, oh yeah, the UN can get fucked.
Yeah.
I'm not going to defend New Zealand in the face of Trump because I want to be that man. I want to have that success of just being an utter lunatic and still get re-elected.
I think we've had a correction from Kiwi Skirt, and I quite like it, actually. Kiwi Skirt says we don't need to say that word, we just say Seymour. So the National Party machine is an utter Seymour. I quite like that. We'll know what we mean, and then we won't get kind of flagged on TikTok, or I won't have to put a bleep in there to go up onto YouTube or something. So they're a bunch of utter Seymours at the best of times, don't you think? That works quite well. All right. Let's have a look at some of these super chats. Thank you guys. You've been jumping in straight away. The rejuvenated background. I see what you did there, 8 Vesta. You see what you did? I see what you did. Hey, Spides, how you up to, mate? Hope you're gearing up for a big year. We have to stop accepting delusion as leadership style. Trump and Luxon both operate from a place where feelings replace facts, and instead of governing responsibly, they push narratives that suit them in the moment. Yep, I think that's fair. And it suits them not just necessarily for their agenda. It might be for another party's agenda, but it suits them because it gives them the chance to remain in the position they're in. So ultimately it still suits them, even if it's pushing, for example, an ACT party agenda. Eric says, just wanting Pat and Chewie's opinion on Daniel Miller, the Wanaka cell phone tower arsonist who tried to play sovereign citizen at court today. I know nothing of the situation today, but I think people who try and play sovereign citizenships are adorable. Chewie, if you know of it, do you want to share? Any thoughts around it?
Yeah, so a bit of backstory for people that don't know about this. Some nutter ran around the Wanaka area, setting fire to cell phone towers, Spark and one New Zealand ones, I believe, knocking out cell coverage for most of the town. So he's not very popular, but I assume he was being tracked by nano machines or something like that. But in his first appearance, he's decided to question the validity of the judge by asking whether she's using her full and legal name. So I'm going to predict that this is not going to go very well for him.
Yeah, I think that's a fair.
Because it never does. These sovereign citizen guys come in, they still think it's fucking Hogwarts. And if they say the right words in the right order, then suddenly go, oh, you've caught us out on the Admiralty Law of 1383. One of them in Christchurch, this is my favourite one, his whole defence was by going, I don't recognise the authority of this court by putting me in the dock because I am not a ship.
There's a very good English, British YouTuber called Creaky Blinder, and he often covers off... He was part of the flat earth debunkers and all that kind of stuff. And now he quite often does sov sits out of America, and they're very funny. They're very funny to watch. Creaky Blinder, if you want to check him out. Let's keep going, shall we? Howie says, don't be surprised. Already teal citizenship. Cash Patel visit tried to keep it hush. Collins and her good friend Christy Nome. The messaging is clear as day. We're going to feature Christy Nome, and we might do it next. We might do Lux, and I'll see what happens. Yeah. Bullies equals bull lies, says Trek Nut. Sorry, yep, go.
I do just want to introduce a new tradition that I'm just trying out. Every time that Christy Nome is mentioned, we must point out the fact that we have heard that she is apparently a bird-legged hoe.
Oh, I hadn't heard that, but thanks for informing me.
Yeah.
JC says, late V, missed the notification. Yeah, now someone's been messaging us over the weekend. Sorry, I don't mean someone random. I haven't got the emails open about not getting notifications on Facebook and that. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. It could be that we were pre-recorded lives and it did something differently, but obviously tonight we've been live. All I can suggest is if you're on YouTube, the notification bell will make sure you're notified. And I've been watching chats over the weekend, some of ours actually, about people who have been bumped off some of their lists of their favorite content creators. I saw some messaging on TikTok, I think might have been the same as well. Maybe, yeah. So one thing you should always do is double check right now that you are subscribed to whatever you're watching us on. If you have the option to be notified, and I'm pretty sure on Facebook you can set up a notification, because when my kids were at secondary school with a Facebook page, I'd always make sure that I was notified from that school to get notifications in case there was a notice or something. And just make sure all the notifications for whatever you're watching us are enabled. Obviously, YouTube is the bell. Facebook, I think when you join or follow or whatever, you have an option for getting it as well. And keep us in the loop, people, if you're not getting notifications, because we haven't changed anything other than Chewie's background. And I don't think that would impact the notifications. I don't think. I could be wrong, but I don't think. Peter says there's going to be a breaking point. Laura says, fuck ice. Sorry for the naughty word. Oh, we need a word. Do we need a word for fuck as well? Could that be Luxon? Luxon ice? No, that sounds wrong. We won't do that. No. Brian says, wish Phil showed the same enthusiasm when leader. Well, maybe that's exactly what Chewie says. Off leash. You don't have to have any. There's no parameters to borrow. I remember when I interviewed the mayor of Dunedin, Aaron Hawkins, when I was doing all the Dunedin mayors 2 elections ago. And the thing that it made very clear to me was he couldn't just come out and say whatever he wanted to, because he was the mayor. And the things that he said could then be, he could be held accountable for, whereas all the opposition, all the non-mayors could promise anything and say anything. But he, as the mayor, was quite restricted in what he could say. Not saying that to give a politician a defence, just saying that to think that might be the reality of being an MP, like it was for the mayor of Dunedin when I interviewed him. Treknut says this is the downfall of an empire. Yep, that would be the US. Vasta says, good on you, Phil. We need more evidence-based lefty voices. Mike says, I wonder what Willie Apiata has to say about knee pad Peters. Oh, knee pad Peters, don't like that one too much. Rajan, late fee, the boys are back in town. And Brian again says, Piggy Muldoon elected 3 times. Nutter. Yep, the old Schnapp selection. All right, Chewie. Maybe we go to Mr. Luxon, eh? And we have a squiz at what has happened. This also has conversations around Tauranga. Absolutely, I don't know if you use the word trigger warning or whatever you want to do, because it's a horrific and heart-wrenching, gutting story. We talked about it at the opening part of the show, to know that at 6 o'clock tonight, at least, there was still unrecovered peoples in that landslide is just, I don't have words for it. It's devastating. I was watching the Midas Touch, and we're going to feature the Midas Touch a bit later on. The Midas Touch, obviously doing a lot on what's happening in Minneapolis, and Brett Mycelis was saying, I've had to record this introduction 4 times because it's been too emotional. I kind of feel a bit the same about this. It's the kind of thing that it just takes a second and you tip into, we can't talk about this anymore. It's too hard. It's too hard watching 8-year-old kids or 10-year-old kids coming to the site where their teacher still is, not having a chance to ever see or be taught by that teacher again. I don't even know what to say. It can't be said as I'm saying things, Chewie. I don't know. Is there anything you want to say about that before we go into sort of the more political aspect of this?
No, I think we just roll into the story.
Okay. Now, these guys here, they have emptied the New Zealand taxpayers' coffers. Now, you might remember a previous iteration of Big Hairy News that played in the year of our Lord 2025, where many times was said, when you empty the coffers, when you give all the money back and away and back to, and whatever words you want to use, and there's no money left in the account, you can sneak through if nothing happens. It's like I found out over the weekend that I hadn't paid my car registration, and it was 10 months overdue. I had no idea, and I immediately went and got it sorted out and got it up to date. Now, you might argue, hey, you could get through 10 months and have a free 10 months. You're right. If I had been pulled over in those 10 months and had a $400, $500, $600 ticket, I would have been pissed. These guys who empty the coffers to big tobacco, to landlords in tax breaks, they possibly could have got away with it if they'd had nothing out of the ordinary happen that required a big amount of money, like a cyclone or a earthquake or a something like that. So right now we're having that, and people are asking Mr. Luxon, are we going to get support? And the follow-up question to that, which hasn't been asked yet, is where is the money coming from? Because we have no money left, because you've given out 17, 18, $20 billion to big tobacco, to big oil, and tax breaks to landlords. Tens of billions of dollars you've chosen to either not receive or take out of New Zealand's bank account. So where is the money coming from? Do I hear the word debt rising in the future? New Zealand borrowing money in the future because you've chosen to empty the accounts? I'm a bit more angsty about it than this question is, because it's kind of in a more placid way asking a little bit about the money. So we'll let them get to this now.
You also visited the East Cape in the last few days. The residents there seemed appreciative of your visit, but were asking, where's the relief support, Prime Minister? Can you assure them you will have their backs financially?
We don't get the follow-up question, which is, and where is that coming from? But this is part one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's Mark Mitchell's been in all 5 places where local emergencies have been over the course of the last week, from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Obviously, I was with him on Friday. We were on Saturday. We were in Northland as well. Got back late on Saturday night, back here again now. And that's the message very clearly to the local governments, is that we are here to help. We're going to make sure you get everything you need. And to be honest, Chris, we've been in massive response mode. So even up on State Highway 35, where we visited and had to get in by helicopter. You've got a number of, we had I think 30 households who have to be evacuated last night because of the risk of slips and slides. So we're still responding, but having met with all the mayors, they all understand that they've all got slightly different challenges in all the 5 different regions, and they're all pulling together their assessment of what's needed. We'll talk about it again at Cabinet tomorrow morning.
Mr. Luxon's frozen. He's having a wee nap. Mr. Luxon, he's having a wee nap.
Cabinet tomorrow morning.
All right. Apologies about this. It's 3:08. We're going to have to refresh the page. Turn it down. Oh, gosh. It's all going to pot now, Chewie. Here we go. Back to 3:08.
About it again at Cabinet tomorrow morning, and then we're very happy to, we're here to help. I mean, what has been impressive is, sadly, these events keep coming to New Zealand.
Yes.
And what we can control is our response to them. And the way...
Yes. He's getting there, Chewie. These things keep happening. Almost like there's something, I don't know, in the air. There's some vibe, that there's a reason behind why these things. We'll get to that next. We'll let him finish his statement.
It's central government, local government, iwi, the marae have been unbelievable across the whole of the country, just phenomenal. But our Surf Lifesaving Club, our first responders, our police, everybody, the join up and the way they work together, they've got practice at this now, and we're getting better and better at it. But of course, now we move into recovery, and that's the important phase.
So there's part number one, Chewie. He is starting to hint about these things. Isn't it strange? These things just keep happening. Which obviously in the chat you're already pointing to a particular thing. It's a way that the kind of, I don't know how you say it, it's like there's a sort of a change in the climate. It's sort of a change. We'll get to that bit next, but you're welcome to respond to that one first.
Well, I mean, when you throw so many words out there all at once, sometimes the words fall in a combination that might actually be somewhere close to the truth, kind of like monkeys hammering out Shakespeare on a million typewriters. Yeah, like I don't think that this is a considered position that he's thought about and arrived at organically. I think this is just waffle. We've bounced around almost. He's so close to realizing.
So close.
He's so close. Wasn't there a fund? Didn't a future thinking government put a pot of money away for something like this? It was called a climate emergency fund of some sort, and then the Hamburglar, Nicola Willis went, you know what I can do with this money? I can make it disappear. It's fucking gone. It's gone. Don't worry. East Coast and Northland, they've already been smashed by a cyclone. That's done. There's not going to be another one. So yeah. I can confidently Shazam this money away to solve my problems, and nothing's going to happen. And here we are, another big storm event. Now this is predictable. The El Nino, La Nina cycle is pretty predictable. Everything that experts say about climate change is one of the things. It's heating up the ocean, and we are surrounded by ocean, and weather is turbocharged by the ocean. So this is all predictable stuff. We are going to see more and more and more of it. Climate change is unpredictable weather, more extreme weather, weather events more often.
Yeah.
And this government cannot think ahead, cannot plan for the future, and it's all about this term and the next election, and it's all just grey fuzziness past that. Who knows?
Chewie, I'm going to give you credit for this as always, because we made it very clear that their one job prior to the last election was winning the election. Their one job this year, this is for them, I mean, is to get re-elected. So they will say whatever they need to say. They might even offer whatever they need to offer to give them the best chance of being a second term coalition government. One of the things that this government is brilliant at doing, and I say brilliant as in clever, not as in good, is doing things like cancelling Smoke-Free 2025 and then constantly talking about how they're going to address smoking issues in New Zealand. The latest one you've got going on about climate change is talking about net zero by 2050, whilst they've been the worst government for climate change legislation in recent memory. So let's have a look at a conversation right now from this morning about climate change, linking it into the weather events around the country, the climate in general. And then we're going to have a look at what this government chose to not do last year with climate, along with what Chippy had to say today about this government's... Luxon basically went, yeah, all the parties are on board with this. This is not a political issue. This is a New Zealand issue, talking about getting the climate stuff sorted. So we're going to give Chippy a chance to respond as to what he thinks about Luxon now saying, yeah, we're all in this together, where last year they were saying, and more importantly, doing something very different around climate change.
It's just been phenomenal.
We are always going to have to respond to events. That's just the reality, right? But in terms of actually trying to prevent, to take a long-term solution at preventing, what about the impact of climate change and how much of a priority is that going to be for you in this election year?
Doesn't exist.
Well, it's a massive priority, and that's why you've seen our government do everything we can to accelerate renewable energy and projects that we need desperately in New Zealand to make the transition that we need to deliver on net zero.
Chris has a really good question here. There's a really good question coming up that I'm going to give you a heads up on. Basically, if it's as important as Luxon is saying now, why did he not talk about it during his State of the Nation speech? It's a very good question.
2050. But the other thing that we're doing is since we came to government, is form for the very first time a national adaptation plan. We want that to be bipartisan with all the political parties involved. We know that's a multi-generational effort. It involves central government, local government, banks, insurers, all of that, to think about how we manage and mitigate or adapt to these events going forward. The other piece that's really important is to make sure that we keep our response right, but obviously make sure that we, at the end of this year, for example, we're going to have a national flood plan, which will be the first time we've had that, which will give much more clarity about where the risks actually sit and actually help inform local governments as well.
If climate change is going to be a priority for you, as you say, should it have featured in your State of the Nation speech?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, our priority, there's lots of things I could cover in the State of the Nation speech, but the reality is...
Yeah, but surely, you're right, Mr. Luxon, there's many things you could cover, but surely the two or three things that are most important should be covered. So not covering it shows that you don't think it's very important. Certainly not one of the top 2, 3, 4, 5, like the future of the planet. Us surviving beyond us into our kids and grandkids. You don't consider that, say, a top 5 issue, which I think is fair, because you didn't mention it in the State of the Nation. It's not in the wheelhouse.
Lots of things I could cover in the State of the Nation speech, but the reality is, there's been no doubt from day one, we're deeply committed to net zero 2050. We're making very good progress.
Deeply committed.
I mean, some of the advice we see sees that we'll deliver that slightly early. We've opened up more renewable energy.
Like how we see some of the advice we've seen, like by the lobbyists that you're paying to give you that advice. Some of the advice we've seen, by that drunk blind guy who's been screaming things at you from outside. Yeah, you'll be there before 2050. But some of the advice we've seen.
Projects, which is a key part of it in the last 18 months, and we've had in the previous 15 years under our fast-track legislation. We need to get that stuff done faster and get it built quicker and faster as well. So, we're making some good progress. It's not just about the words. It's actually about following through with action and investment, and that's what we're doing.
Yes. So he says
Jesus
that they are doing a lot. They're like, I don't know if he used the word top priority, but he's putting out there that it's a top priority about what they're doing. Really? Really? A top priority? Really?
I love existing in the period of human history where words don't mean anything anymore.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to maybe call up Shane Jones and see what he's been running around and doing? How can you say that you're completely committed to net zero when you're opening oil prospecting permits and national gas prospecting permits?
Do you know what?
How can you say that? How can you say that when one of the first things your government did was shit can a major hydro battery project in Lake Onslow? First on the chopping block, just fucking gone. Like, actions don't meet the words.
Yeah. And I was about to say, maybe this is where, and I'm not trying to be generous to Mr. Luxon, but he can't say our government is, because we know Winston Peters not, and neither is David Seymour. I mean, at the very least, he should be saying national is. Like, at the very least, I'm not even saying that's accurate, but he can't say our government is. He can't. He literally can't. This is from June of last year. Climate change scientists accuse government of ignoring scientific evidence. The Prime Minister has dismissed international climate scientists as worthies for criticising the government's approach to methane. But the Green Party says New Zealand appears to be on a climate denial bandwagon and needs to end the speculation over what it plans to do around the country's single biggest source of emissions, which of course is methane. Christopher Luxon received a letter from 26 international climate change scientists accusing the government of ignoring scientific evidence over plans to lower its methane targets. I say it's really important. I don't really care about it. Which is it going to be?
Look, what I'd say to you is this, Pat. I don't read letters.
To lead, not to read.
Look, there's other aspects of this. There's big chunks of his government that want us to pull out of the Paris Climate Accords.
Mm.
You know, and that's going to stomp on our dick twice, because it'll shut out our exporters out of major export markets and just turbocharge climate change. Like, you've still got Shane Jones carrying on the outright debunked lie that for some reason we shouldn't import Indonesian coal because we make coal here, completely ignoring the fact that they're two different types of coal. Like, it's so dumb. Like, I have been consistent, like, every time Shane Jones posts on Facebook about mining, I am there in the comments, always asking the same question that has not been answered yet. Shane, how much money annually does the New Zealand government get from mining and exploitation royalties? It is, you can look this up, it is an astonishingly small amount of money. Yes, these mining companies are making good profits. Yes, they're employing New Zealand workers in some roles, but they are not paying us more money than it costs us to clean up after them.
Yeah. So the country's not making money, even if individuals within New Zealand are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
that's
listen,
the king of mining.
Let's play this last bit now for you. This is from 1 News Tonight, 6 o'clock. And this has just been this bit where Luxon had just said that this is a cross-party issue, talking about climate change. You know, this is not about a political colour or ideology. This is about the country. We're going to all work on this together. They've all been very receptive, as you heard him just say. So TVNZ gave a right of reply to Mr. Hipkins.
It's complex work, it's hard work, but we are wanting to do that in a bipartisan way with all the political parties on board, and we want to do it with all the different stakeholders.
What's been the buy-in to that from the other parties?
Very positive, and because this is a New Zealand issue, it's not a political.
Could you just imagine, Chloe? It's very positive. Of course, they're going to be like, oh yeah, Mr. Luxon, this is the perfect climate change, climate mitigation, climate adaptation issue. You've got it right. This is right. We're with you, Mr. Luxon.
issue. This is not politics.
We put that to Labor.
This is a government that have dragged their heels on issues around climate change, on issues around national resilience, and ultimately we are 2 years behind where we should be.
The government acknowledges climate change is driving more extreme events more often. But last year, it rejected the Climate Commission's recommendations to strengthen emissions goals.
Well, look, the government are very committed to net zero by 2050, and we have plans in place to meet our domestic targets.
The events
They
of the last
say it,
week-
Chewie, but everything they do wouldn't project confidence in that statement. There you go. That's the end of the video for this topic, Chewie. Yours, sir.
Look, all I can say is that comment from Luxon that it's cross-party because it's not about politics. It's about New Zealand, and they're working very hard and they're dedicated, and it's a complex issue, all of that sort of thing. I could hear Chloe Schwarbrick's eyebrows explode from a distance. From here in my house, I could hear it. Like, they talked to Chris Hipkins because that comment that Luxon made killed Chloe Schwarbrick. She's dead now. She died in her office. Like, there's so much irony that it murdered her. And this is the thing. I think this is the thing. When I talk about words not meaning anything, this is going to define the election for me. We know that Winston's going to be spinning a yarn. Shane Jones is just going to be backing out. We know David Seymour is going to be spinning a whole line. And we know right there in the middle, anchoring those two fantastic MPs, is this shopping bag full of farts that we call Chris Luxon. And he'll just be bloviating and waffling and porky picking his way through the entire election cycle when we know we have candidates that have a better handle on this. And they're just going to be fighting this out with a piss weak media and an absolutely corrupted social media algorithm where people are just like, there are people right now arguing whether this landslip that's happened in Tauranga and killed people, verifiably killed people, and that you can go down, if you live in Tauranga, you can go and see it, that it's AI.
Oh.
Yeah. Isn't that stunning? These are people that might vote. So
I thought what you were going to say, because there is, and I was going to give Mr. Luxon some credit. I thought what you were going to say is that there are some people in New Zealand right now who are trying to blame iwi for what's happening at the.
Oh yeah, no, that's
slips.
happening too.
But what I was going to say, this is that look,
amazing.
look, Rose. Prime Minister came out pretty quickly decrying the misinformation after the slip. So,
Good.
you know, yeah, correct. I mean, it's pretty low bar to say, hey, Mr. Luxon, can you just tell all those conspiracy theorists blaming what was it I see? That iwi, they're blaming iwi because they wanted to take down all the trees, including the natives on the hill, when it was a Pahuzakawa. That was one of the main, you could see it literally moving across the thing. It was just, yeah. So it seems that, like, you know, anti-Semitism is you blame the Jewish community for everything. I mean, what's the Māori version of anti-Semitism? Just racism? You blame
just
Māori.
racism.
But then again, it's Māori specific though. They're not blaming, you know, let's use a Trumpism here, Somalian people for everything or Samoan people for everything. It's Māori for
just
everything.
Good old white separatism, white supremacy.
There you go. That'll do actually.
You know,
fair enough. Too.
Look, the whole thing with that, and the stuff's made a good go at, like, going that the Prime Minister has pushed back about this. We're not going to tell you exactly what it is, but anyway, next paragraph, just some history. Local iwi are replanting the mount in native forests, and it's meant that some older exotic trees are being removed. And people are going, the bloody Maoris has cut down all the trees and the whole mountain's falling down. So that's essentially what it is. It is the dumbest version of a conspiracy, just to blame Māori. And yes, we are going to tip our hat to the Prime Minister for clearing the bare minimum bar. This should be a new award
low.
that we need to hand this out. We need to send
the
it
bare
to
minimum
him,
the bare minimum award.
every time he does the bare minimum and manages to clear that and not fall flat on his face, we need to send him a certificate.
I like it. A bare
with
minimum
a fucking
award.
primary school teacher's sticker on it.
It's like when
you
hear
did it.
Like when you hear kids who are growing up to, I'm just writing this down, bare minimum award. When you hear about kids who grew up in a sort of a pretty hard upbringing, parents that weren't very caring of them, and they make quite a success of themselves. And you hear stories about their parents going, you why aren't you thankful for what we did for you? And the response is like, what? Like the bare minimum of keeping me alive? Yeah, you don't necessarily get respect. That's the bare minimum. And it feels like that the bare minimum award definitely needs to be some kind of graphic that we can throw up. I'll start thinking about that, because you're right. I mean, kudos, you said the right thing, but it's the bare minimum. Yes, Mr. Luxon, water is wet. It's the bare minimum. Let's just do this one super chat there, and then we'll jump into the next and the last story for the night. Actually, we won't quite do that yet. But E Grant Wright says, Marae doing mahi, Hobson's Choice running anti-Māori propaganda. I'm not. Is Hobson's Choice on a particular rant at the moment? Are they?
Oh, always. Not a particular one. Just still.
Okay.
Still at it.
Just a little segue before we move into the next one. This is what we normally do at the start of the show, but we had Phil Goff. So just to let you know a couple of things that are going on at the minute. We have, if you have not yet seen, new stickers in store, and can we zoom in? And I'm going to go full screen, Chewie. I'm going to go full screen. Oh. And how about this?
Oh, that's my face.
That's your face. On a particular mug. Mugs are in stock. So if you're interested in mugs, all you need to do is go to the shop. Hoodies, tees, they're all still there, all going strong. Have Nala on your summer chest if you want. I'll tell you what we did do as well. We made some Nala t-shirts for 2-year-olds. And we're going to do kids merch. That's coming because it's adorable. Not necessarily Nala, but just in general. Wouldn't you like your 2-year-old with "You Can't Bomb the Truth Away" on their t-shirt going to kindy? Wouldn't that be fantastic? Anyway, there are the mugs, Fano. I know it's taken a long time. It took longer than we expected. These are hand wash only, not safe for dishwasher mugs. We are basically selling them at, I won't say no profit, but basically no profit, because we just want to get them out there because people have been asking for them for about 2 years. There is a BHN mug. There it is in all its beautiful glory. There is a Chewie Fufu mug that doesn't want to open. There it is, a Chewie Fufu mug in all its beautiful glory. There is a 4 hosts mug if you want to have all 4 of us on there. There is, of course, the Nikki No Boats. That's in there as well. And finally, there is the Tax Work Less, Tax Wealth More mug. I mean, like, I'm not going to do a special. I'll tell you what, we did specials over the summer, pretty big specials of 30% of everything in store. The only thing we didn't put specials on is these mugs, because they are basically very little to no profit. If you included the man hours to pack them and post them and that kind of stuff, yeah, we don't make any money on them. So these are what we're doing. But what I will do, because people have been asking for them for so long, if you get one this week, and I'm just going to say this, I'm not going to write it, I'm just having a look. The only sticker we don't have is BHN. So we'll do it this way. If you get one this week, I will also put into the box a sticker that matches the mug you're getting. And if you order a BHN OG mug, you'll get a mystery sticker. So if you get the Nikki No Boats, I'll send you a Nikki No Boat sticker. I'll put it in the box as well. Just for this week, though, just to give you guys a bit of a thanks for hanging on for so long. Yeah, I like what Sasha has asked, this one here. How many Nikki No Boats are around Parliament right now? I'll tell you what, probably the 2 biggest sellers are the Tax Work Less and the BHN OG. Those are the 2 biggest sellers at the moment. And I get the sense that you're saying around Parliament, I think on many people's office desks has been the Tax Work Less, Tax Wealth More. That's what I'm saying.
IRD.
And then the other thing is Patreon's up and running again. I did a bit of branding change. There's some new banners and stuff around there. And there are some changes to Patreon. I'll tell you what, we won't go over it tonight because we've got one more story to get to. But long story short, if you're a Patreon member already, nothing's changed when it comes to costs or anything like that. But some things may have changed in the in the write-ups. I don't know whether this is showing us in American dollars. I'm sorry about that. I looked to try and change it and I couldn't figure it out. So there's $5. I think that's $8. That's $15. And you've got exactly what's in there as well. We have introduced, there's the super patron, there is the producer, there's the senior producer, that's 100 New Zealand dollars, and there is the executive producer, which is $150. We're introducing a new Patreon, and it is only going to have, I think, there's only 2 available, I think maybe 3, but only 2 available. And we're calling it, you've got the executive producer there, we're calling it the business patron. Now, the business patron is $500
business boy.
a month.
Doing big business.
But doing big business. It's $500 a month. What you get is a tile in the credits. So imagine the credits roll, and we've got new credits all fixed up for tonight. The first tile might be a business one. The second tile might be a business one. And then the names start to roll. Obviously, we have an audience. And as a business, you may want to reach that audience. But the reason we thought we'd do a business patron is there might be people out there who want to support the co-popper. That might be your primary objective, is to support the co-popper, and secondarily, you get some promotion as well, as opposed to other businesses who want promotion and then to support the co-popper. So it's sort of the reverse of that. And if you want to find out more about it, go to patreon.com/Big Hero News. We'll give you more updates on that in the next few days though as well, because yeah, it's something new. And I already have one person saying they want one of the business patrons. So yeah. Or also drawn up a new page for the website, which is going to talk about advertising and sponsorship. We don't do any of that. We're very selective. We've had offers before that we've said no to because they don't align with our ideologies or values. But we are open to working with some businesses because we've got a lot of plans for this year. And the plans for this year involve tens, at an ideal, the plans for this year involve tens of thousands of dollars more capital needed to pull them off, including live events and that kind of stuff around the country. So we're open to all sorts of things. We'll talk about it more as we go through. All right, Chewie, sorry, we're back now. Anything else you want to add in before I jump into World War III in America? Downfall?
Yes. Why can't I do a thing? Here we go. I found that. No, that's your one. I don't want that one. I want this one. There we go. That's the Chris Luxon Award for basic achievement. You did it.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Amazing.
Didn't even have to do it myself.
There you go. All right. Now, there's a few clips here from the Midas Network, Midas Touch. Ben Mycelis there. Only because they've already encapsulated a whole bunch of stuff and we're not really using their commentary. We're using the video that they already used because they covered it pretty well today. So, of course, this is about Alex Pretti and what's happening with Alex Pretti, the horrific story over there. There is a group called Blue Georgia, I think, and Blue Georgia made a very good post on the narrative. See if you can feel the narrative that the government, different departments, different people wanted to make sure that the public was getting very soon after Alex Pretti had been assassinated, murdered. What other words work in there in the correct word? Executed. So have a look. See if you can see, Chewie, that the vibe that the government and government entities are trying to put out there.
Play this clip.
An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic
handgun.
The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots. Medics were on the scene immediately and attempted to deliver medical aid to the subject, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds. He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at the scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
So, I mean, like, you know, I don't want to be too conspiratorial here, Chewie, but do you get the sense that maybe they're on message together? I mean, is there a...
it's subtle.
It is subtle. I mean,
there's a couple of turns of phrase that just organically have clearly just happened.
Could be a coincidence, you think? Could be a coincidence. Not 100% sure.
Just you've got to do the benefit of the doubt, don't you?
Obviously, Blue Georgia, who is the group that did that, they evoke the spirit of Spider Hoof, who was the person who reported Luxon saying exactly the same thing 2 Waitangi days in a row, then refused to go to the third one. So they obviously have their very own Spider Hoof over there doing that. I want to play some more now. This is from Midas Touch. We are going to get a little bit of Midas Touch commentary in between, because this is us covering Kristi Noem, who is the main perpetrator of the disinformation at the moment. And this idea about Alex Pretti came to inflict maximum damage. How they know that, that's another question altogether, but that is the assertion that they are already making. A bit of Kristi Noem, a little bit of commentary from Ben, and then back to Kristi Noem, and then we'll be back with you.
Flip.
He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
She then goes on to further call Alex Pretti a domestic terrorist, somebody who worked as an ICU nurse, helping and protecting our veterans every single day, someone who devoted his life to service and who was there peacefully. This is the thanks he gets from the despicable Trump regime, killing him and defaming him. But this is a dastardly, vile regime. Here, play this clip.
Minneapolis. The White House has labeled the man who was killed in Minnesota as a domestic terrorist. Is that something you agree with? And have you seen any evidence to
When
back
you
up that
perpetuate
claim?
violence against a government because of ideological reasons and for reasons to resist and perpetuate violence, that is the definition of domestic terrorism. This individual who came with weapons and ammunition to stop a law enforcement operation of federal law enforcement officers committed an act of domestic terrorism. That's the facts.
Where's the evidence of his ideology, though?
There you go. That's the clip for that one. Yeah, interesting when these guys are talking about what a domestic terrorist is. We're going to get to more of this in a couple of clicks, Chewie, so bear with me. But, if you're perpetuating violence against a government, that makes you a domestic terrorist. Okay. Wonder how that lines up historically, let's say, over the last 5 years. Well, we'll get to that as we go through. This is Kristi Noem talking about how Alex Pretti showed up with a weapon. Now, I guess there is a conversation to be had. Was that a smart thing for Alex Pretti to do? We know what these guys are about, et cetera, et cetera. But the reality is it was legal. He was entitled to. One of the funniest thing is the wrong word. One of the most ironic things is to see the NRA at the moment. Basically, they're chastising Trump's cabinet for talking about this gun owner, but they're not turning up to Minneapolis to hold an event. Like when it's a right winger who gets caught with a gun, whose kids go and shoot up a school, the NRA turn up to that small town the next day and they hold a rally. It is ironic to watch the NRA at the moment kind of go, hey guys. I don't think we want to start talking about, a legal gun owner because that might blow back and get us in the future. But there's no out of my cold dead hand from Charlton Heston going on from the NRA at the moment. They're being very, very quiet about it. So Kristi Noem was asked again about Alex Pretti showing up with a weapon.
You just made claims that the individual posed a threat to law enforcement.
That is no claim. It is the facts. The facts of the situation. This individual showed up to a law enforcement operation with a weapon and dozens of rounds of ammunition. He wasn't there to peacefully protest. He was there to perpetuate violence. And he was asked to show up and to continue to resist by a governor who's irresponsible.
I know this is clear to you guys. If you show up with a weapon and you're carrying it legally, according to Kristi Noem, and again, I'm going somewhere, you're showing up to perpetuate violence. That's the only answer she's giving. I wonder if that might bite them in the ass, let's say, over the past 5 years historically in American politics. Well, we'll get to that.
And has a long history of corruption and lying. And we won't stand for it anymore. These law enforcement officers take an oath. They get up every single day and they go out to protect the public. Many of these individuals live in their communities. And this mayor and this governor have doxed them. They have allowed people to threaten them and their families and expose their identities in order to instill fear and violence. And that's not what America is about.
And that's what a reporter says. So
that's the end of that clip. This is the last clip of Kristi Noem. And then I've got something to just to cover off on what she says. So this is the biggest part about sort of at using the deadly force. And the law enforcement, this was Border Patrol, ICE, there's some different technical clarifications for who is law enforcement, but this is a law enforcement situation. This is a situation where law enforcement and their colleagues are policing the streets. So obviously, if a man brandishes a weapon, then in America's law, go for it. You're allowed to use deadly force. So, did he brandish a weapon? We're going to give Kristi Noem the first right of reply, and in a couple of minutes after we have a chat about this, Chewie, we are going to give a YouTuber called Pondering Politics, because he has a very interesting piece of video which has been slowed down and itemized piece by piece, and we'll look at that as well. But first of all, Kristi Noem, when did he brandish the weapon? What was that all about?
Secretary Noem, thank you so much for doing this, and would welcome also any other guidance from Chief Scott. Did the 37-year-old who had a license to carry, did he brandish a gun? And at what point did law enforcement retrieve the gun and also the magazines from him? Can you offer clarity on
this
where
individual
those were found?
showed up to impede a law enforcement operation and
Not what she asked you.
assaulted our officers. They responded according to their training and took action to defend the officer's life and those of the public around him. And I don't know of any peaceful protester that shows up with a gun and ammunition rather than a sign. This is a violent riot when you have someone showing up with weapons and are using them to assault law enforcement officers.
Okay, so there's a really important part of this, Chewie, which we're now going to show you. Quote from Kristi Noem, that piece we just played you. Quote, I don't know of any peaceful protester that shows up with a gun and ammunition rather than a sign. This is a violent riot when you have somebody showing up with weapons and are using them to assault law enforcement officers. Kristi Noem is saying, if you show up with weapons, if you show up with violence, you are, they've used the word, a domestic terrorist. You are a violent offender. So January the 6th, Chewie, I believe the President of the United States talked about these guys being peaceful protesters.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
But the Congressional Committee on the January 6th insurgency concluded he helped foment the riot and for hours did little to stop it.
See all those peaceful rioters there, Chewie? They're all peaceful, right? No one has violence. There's no violence intent. None of them have weapons. That's peaceful.
As the crowd called for the hanging of the vice president who certified Trump's loss. 5 years later, Trump is back in office. And the White House is rebranding convicted and pardoned January 6th participants as peaceful, patriotic protesters. John Hendren, Al Jazeera, Washington.
And just for absolute clarity on that, and to wrap it up completely, remember, if you don't have a sign, if you've got weapons, anything like that, then you're a domestic terrorist and you're turning up for violence. Unless you're doing it for Trump.
Well, that man right there with the mustache battling police is Cosper Head, the Tennessee man charged along with two others in Fanone's brutal assault on January the 6th. But prosecutors say this video shows it was Head who dragged Fanone away from his fellow officers. And you will see and hear Officer Fanone in the lower right corner of your screen.
Peaceful and beautiful.
Meantime, a second new camera angle allegedly shows Head dragging Officer Fanone further from his fellow officers and into the mob as Fanone struggles to get away. We've previously showed you that body camera video of what happens next. Officer Fanone is kicked, punched, and tased into unconsciousness.
No, that can't be right, Chewie, because tasing him would involve a taser. A taser would be a weapon, and no one turns up as a peaceful protester with any kind of weapon on them. So there you go, violence. And I know the tongue is not just in my cheek, but through my cheek and tickling my ear on this, but This is what's happening in politics, and we saw it today on this show in our own world when Luxon and his colleagues are saying water is dry. And this is what's happening around the world. And Kristi Noem is saying, if you turn up with a gun, legally allowed to carry it, if you turn up without a sign, your only option can be you are a violent domestic terrorist. Got some more to show you about some footage that came out today about the shooting, and there is, even though there are trigger warnings about what the themes are, it's cut in a way that you don't see any of the worst of it. But Chewie, sir, jump on in.
I've got some more examples, Pat.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Trump won 2020, the Stop the Steal protest.
So they're domestic terrorists. According to Kristi Noem, they're domestic terrorists.
Obviously, if you turn up to a protest with a weapon and no sign, you are a domestic terrorist.
Yep. So hopefully they're after those people. Hopefully they're locking up those domestic terrorists.
Well, one thing I can tell you is that they're still alive. So there's that. Here's another armed occupation.
Domestic terrorists.
Of a state capital.
Yep.
All of these people, they were not extrajudicially killed by law enforcement.
No, Chewie, you've missed something, because Kristi Noem says those people there are domestic terrorists, and this government in America is all about fighting terrorism. So I'm assuming you're wrong that those people have been rounded up and are sitting in some kind of ICE/terrorist detention center right now, because according to Kristi Noem, those people there are domestic terrorists, and those people only turned up to that building that they're in with violence intact or in mind, because they've got no signs.
Personally, my own view of the individuals in this photo is that they're probably wearing an ICE plate carrier and badge at the moment. Because of their previous mask-wearing experience. Look, maybe the difference is here that these legitimate protesters, the reason that nothing bad has happened is that they're not brandishing their weapons, they're not pointing it at law enforcement. This one in Nevada from 2014.
Is that a domestic terrorist? That's probably AI, is it? Is it AI?
It's really hard to tell. But this next one, he is aiming at federal agents from an overpass.
Right.
So look, there is a double standard. Now the thing with all of these statements, this narrative that they've tried to have with the other person that they assassinated the other day, she was blocking, she was trying to hit people with their car. All of that fell apart when we saw the video. Even when they released video.
Can I just say one other thing for that? An independent autopsy came on. She was shot 3 times, Renee Good. She was shot 3 times. The first shot was in the arm, survivable. The second shot was in the breast, survivable. This is what the autopsy says. The third shot, Chewie, was in the temple. Now, just I'm not very smart, but when I think about the temple, I think about it being on the side of my head.
Mm-hmm.
And for someone to get access to the side of my head, do they more likely stand in front of me or beside me, i.e. as I'm driving past them to where my temple would see them? I mean, I'm just putting it out there. Conspiracy theory maybe, but I'm just putting it out there.
The other point that I'm going to make here is, and we saw this again, that they were trying to hit a narrative straight out of the gates. This person came, that he was going to do harm. It was a massacre, all of this sort of stuff. And they've used some really interesting, the fact that he had 2 magazines, or maybe they were high capacity magazines. He didn't bring his ID. And I just wanted to go, is it the rules that you must carry ID? Is this a new thing in the States?
I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what I've heard. I don't know whether this is true or not, but what they've said is if you are even legally concealed carrying, you must also have an ID. I don't know whether that's true or not, but That's what they're saying. So it's not just about an ID. They're linking it to if you're concealed carrying, you must have an ID. Again, I'm not saying that because it's true. I don't know, but that's what they're saying.
But the versions of this that they're telling is that he came down there, immediately got into someone's face, was brandishing a weapon, which is a very particular legal term, and then shots were fired at him defensively.
Yeah. Well,
and
we can have a look. Yeah.
And then you see the footage, and instantly you go, "That's fucked."
You go,
absolutely not.
Well,
a woman gets shoved violently in the chest. He goes to assist, gets pepper sprayed, jumped by like 8 dudes, pepper sprayed again. The guy in the grey jacket here sees the gun at the back of his waistband and takes it. And then afterwards, after he's disarmed, he gets shot in the back 8-10 times.
I think CNN said 10. I think it's, but 8 to 12 is pretty much what people
multiple
are
guns
saying.
out.
Yeah.
And in one of these versions, you can see an ICE agent clapping.
Well, let's have a look. Come on, let's just have a look at the video so we can show them. This is a video, and this is Josiah from a page called Pondering Politics, one of the young sort of leftists in America. If you haven't seen this, you should check them out. They're good. And this is he talks it through, and this is a different angle, I think, and they've zoomed in on some bits, and they kind of show what Chewie's just described a little bit about. You see the gun being removed, the legally carried gun being removed, and after it's removed, the shots being made. And Chewie, I'm going to play one more clip after that, and it's again from Josiah's show, and the change in tone now coming from Kirsty Noem. It's not conciliatory, but it's certainly different from what we just heard, because guess what? What they said was bullshit, and videos prove otherwise.
And I have to be mindful of YouTube's terms of service, so some of this may be spliced so we don't see the most graphic parts, but I want you to see very clearly this new stabilized footage which debunks Trump's lies.
And we'll let Josiah kind of comment.
So here they're wrestling him to the ground. Right here, and we're going to see it zoomed in just a second, one of the agents is ripping away Alex Pretti's gun, and then the agent in green shoots him. Okay? The agent in the gray with the gun, Alex Pretti's gun, is running away. They have disarmed him. And then the agent in green shoots him. Now, you're going to see the agents, again, slow motion, zoom in, they're grappling with him. The agent in the center is reaching
that guy there
into Alex Pretti's back.
With the cap on.
And what you'll see here, right here, his gloved hand is at the small of Alex Pretti's back.
In there.
Because Alex Pretti's gun, which remember he was lawfully permitted to have, was holstered in a small of back waistband holster. It was holstered. He did not have it out. He was not reaching for it. It was holstered away from him, behind his back. The agent, you can see here, he's fumbling with the gun.
This guy.
And then right here, he's got the, you see he's kneeling, Alex Pretti is kneeling.
Yeah.
The agent is gripping his waistband, trying to get the gun, which is holstered, that Alex Pretti is not going for, which he certainly doesn't have in his hands. And right here, you see the agent rip the gun away. He's ripping the gun away while the agent in green withdraws his gun. Now, as you see here, the agent who had Alex Pretti's gun has successfully ripped it away and is backing away. He's moving away to get the gun away from Pretti, which Pretti did not have in his possession, like in his hands, and that Pretti was not reaching for. The agent in green has already pulled out his gun. And then, of course, we know what happens. After Alex Pretti is disarmed from a gun that was holstered in his small of back, then the agent in green fires the first shot, one of about 10.
So now it's clear, the evidence is there, it's unchallengeable. There are different angles that also show that the gun actually being in the guy's hand after he's taken it out as well, before the first shot. Finally, I'll just play this. It's less than a minute. And it's again off Pondering Politics with Josiah. Have a listen to the change in tone of Kristi Noem. I wouldn't say she's conciliatory. I wouldn't say she's come completely around saying, yes, we were wrong. But the tone is markedly different now that, guess what? The 400 fucking cameras that were on the site from people with their cell phones have all come out and we've seen with our own eyes.
You mentioned the protocol. There is an angle of the video that we've been playing all morning where it shows an officer removing a weapon either from Alex Pretti's waistband or a holster. And he walks away with the weapon before officers start.
And just obviously, if you're listening on the audio podcast, you can't see, we're watching Fox News right now. So this is Fox News. Fox News are saying this is clear cut. So this is Fox News saying this if you're listening to the audio podcast. And yeah, we'll let you hear what Noem's got to say.
He walks away with the weapon before officers start shooting. It appears that Alex Pretti was disarmed. If he was disarmed, is it the protocol to use deadly force?
And that's all part of this investigation. Every video will be analyzed. Everything will be looked at. And that's part of the answers that I can't speak to every single thing that those officers thought, but this happened in seconds. They clearly feared for their lives and took action to defend themselves and the people around them. If you watch that and you listen to those videos, you can hear someone yelling, gun, 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 and those agents and officers reacted to that. So as this investigation goes forward, all of that will be analyzed.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, like I said, it's not exactly like she had a full-throated retraction, but all of a sudden we need to see all the facts that are coming in. We need to have a look at all these things and see what's true and what's not. Whereas yesterday, Chewie, domestic terrorist, went out with violent intent, and she didn't say this, but he got put down like I did my puppy. Basically what happened. So it's interesting to see the change in tone. What will end up happening is probably nothing. I mean, the guy, I can remember his names because it's the same as the comedian out of the UK, whose name I can't remember right now, who shot Renee Good. What's his name? He's on all those big fat quiz shows. Jonathan
Ross.
Jonathan Ross. That's how I can remember. I didn't remember his name.
What about the story that came out that he was suffering internal bleeding?
Yeah. No evidence.
You know, from what? No, the car didn't hit him. Like, we didn't have a chance to debate this at the time because we were having a lovely break and not thinking about all of this stuff. But
of course we weren't.
This is the thing. With so many people's cameras out. Now, in the past, I've kind of been a bit derisive of everybody filming every protest. But I think in the States at the moment, this is a must. You must be filming all of the time. And that is what this guy that got executed, that's what he was doing. We haven't seen his footage because I assume ICE took his phone. We haven't seen his version of what was said. But there's enough angles that people can do this sort of analysis. There's 5 or 6 angles of the shooting, and I've seen ones where they're all synced up together as well. So it's enormously helpful. But when you can watch a video, and I noticed someone got booted for the chat for just having an unhinged take on this, which is like if the cops are yelling an instruction at you and you don't immediately do it, for some reason you deserve to be executed. I'm sorry, there will not be bootlicking in this channel.
I think platform. I think you're looking for Plunkett's show tomorrow morning. I think that's where you need to be.
Well, get in while it lasts. Cheap shot. Look, this is one of the things. Is all of these people sort of expanding and going, oh well, he should have complied. He should have done this. Let me tell you this. Why is it that this is a narrative in the States where an officer can kill someone if they fear for their life? Like they put themselves in a situation like the guy that shot Renee Good, the excuse that I've seen is that not long before he'd been hit by a car and dragged 100 meters.
He probably shouldn't have been doing that job then. He should probably have been on leave still if it impacted him that much.
If that happened, he's got PTSD or whatever. I probably wouldn't walk around the front of another car, which is exactly what he did. And I certainly wouldn't be doing it holding a phone or a gun.
Well, they're trained not to. That's the other narrative. He went against any kind of, because you know that Trump has come out and taken the ICE from being 6 months worth of training, and they've made it for people who don't know. Guess the number in your head. So it was 6 months. That's 180-ish days, and they've made it. Can anyone guess? Anyone want to guess? You want to guess? They've made it 47 days. And you know why Trump made it 47 days, Chewie? Because he thought it would be hilarious because he's the 47th president. Don't tell me to fuck off.
That's so dumb. Look,
but that's why
this doesn't count for the ICE agent that shot Renee Good. He's been in there for years.
Right.
So even that excuse falls away. But here's someone, he's put himself in a position of danger. He's put himself in a position where he can go, oh, well, I was afraid for my life, so I should be excused for my reaction here. But an untrained civilian having her car surrounded by people wearing military tactical gear, masks, carrying firearms, and yelling contradictory orders at her, move your car, go, get out of your car, all at the same time. She does the wrong thing in someone's view. Oh, I'm afraid for my life, I'm going to shoot you. Now, the same thing with this more recent one. I can see that somebody has relieved this guy of his weapon. Maybe he said gun, and someone's gone, gun? That's the magic word. Bang, 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 bang. I have seen a Reddit thread where the question has been asked, military members and law enforcement personnel in the US, what is your view of ICE? And it is an overwhelming response from people saying these are untrained cowboys. If I acted like this in the Marines, the Army, my local police department, I would be out of a job by the end of the week and I'd probably deservedly be in jail. Now, these guys have been weaponized. ICE, you know, the other explanation that I see from people that are wanting to justify this. Did you know that ICE existed when Obama was president?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, ICE has been around since the early 2000s. So that's being used as a hand wave away of like, well, you know, if it's so bad, why did Obama use it? Yeah, Obama did some bad shit. The dude wasn't perfect. But that doesn't mean that anybody that inherits ICE massively expands its budget more than some aspects of the US military.
Well,
massively expands its payroll and its personnel, takes away all of the training, and actively recruits from the Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, and then unleashes them on overwhelmingly democratic areas. Like this has been used before. The Nazis used to hold rallies in lefty areas of Germany, provoke a response and go, look at how violent these communists are.
Mm.
Now, word on the street, the next target for ICE, for this massive surge in personnel, is Philadelphia. And when I saw this mentioned, the overwhelming reaction to that is Philly don't play.
Yeah. I mean, Rocky will come out and sort that out if nothing else.
Yeah. So I think this, and this ties into the story that is doing the rounds at the moment, that some researchers have gone, this is ticking a lot of boxes for the early stages of a civil war.
Yeah, 100%.
Over there, is that this is the goal. That they are trolling for such a response. You know, the ICE have killed 9 people this year. So when is there going to be a reaction from protesters? That next step of like, well, if they've got their guns, we're bringing our guns. And the overwhelming thing that's been in my head over the last couple of days is people should watch Andor again.
All right.
Like, there's some really scary stuff that has parallels with today. And I sat down and watched the episode that has the Gorman massacre. If you've watched Andor, you'll know what I'm talking about. Right. But they send poorly trained stormtroopers into a protest of civilians, and then something happens, and then everybody gets murdered. And it feels like they are that close.
Welcome back to Big Hairy News for the year, team. It's going to be a perler, a light-hearted crack of a year as we go up to a new election. Okay, guys, let's get to some super chats and then we're going to wrap up for the night. It's in the ballot. Says this is to do with Tauranga. If there was going to be a place to blame Māori for the outcome of a natural disaster, would be the racist capital of New Zealand, Tauranga. I don't know if they. We'll see. JC and the Pigeon Cats. Here's your award for outstanding achievement in the field of excellence. Happy New Year. Brian says, who's Labour's communication election team? I'm not entirely sure who the communication are, but Kieran's in charge of the election cycle, isn't he? Kieran's running whatever that is. If that's what we're talking about.
So we'll know when Labour's campaign has started when Bish gets pushed down the stairs and downtroud.
Meanwhile, Putin says that Vesta is rubbing his hands with glee. Speedlocked, I'd ID'd him fast enough after with no ID.
Thanks
if they
to Planetair.
ID'd him fast enough with no ID. And then TrekNut gives us the answer. In the state, it is up to a $25 US fine if not carrying an ID whilst carrying a gun. So yeah, so that's what they've been saying. But we all know that they're just trying to find an out for a vicious and violent crime that has been done. Lots going on this week. I'm with you guys for this week. Yay! A bit of a treat for you on Sunday night as well. I'll give you more details tomorrow, but Sunday night we might end up doing a live with Craig Rennie. Talking to Craig during the holiday break, and Craig's been getting a lot of requests from people to provide for them a whole bunch of information that they can use. And me and Craig were talking during the break, and Craig said it would be good maybe to do the first show of the year, sort of where we can give out a bunch of information. I went, you mean Craig Rennie's masterclass? And he went, yeah. So possibly, in fact, it's probably more than possible. I'm only saying possibly because I haven't talked to Craig today. I talked to him during the week though, but I mean, basically it's an all-goer that this Sunday night we might do a live stream with Craig. Don't worry, Chewie, I'm not committing you when I say we, I mean the network. To a Craig Rennie masterclass where you can also ask questions about things that he may have the answers for, and including drawing up some documents, putting them on his Substack, putting them on our BHN blog, that then you can get access to make sure you have all the information you need. The other thing is I made a bit of a new friend during the holiday period. His name is Andre, and he is in the West Bank. You may have seen him on TikTok.
Yes, I've seen his content.
Here
Really
is one
good.
of his latest TikToks when a right-wing Jewish internet troll came into their West Bank settlement and sort of did this.
Oh, you don't want to make peace with us? So what do you want? You want war? What do you want? You want war or peace? What do you want? You want war or peace? Decide. Decide if you want war or peace.
Today we got pepper sprayed by an Israeli.
Yeah, so I've been talking to Andre over the internet, and I asked him to come on this week, and he said yes. So hopefully one night this week. The West Bank is about 9 hours behind us, maybe a bit more. It's certainly sort of early or mid-morning to early afternoon. And so we'll aim to have Andrew on this. I've also communicated with Eru Kapakingi during the holiday period and have said to him he's got a hekoi coming out on Saturday, and he's indicated he would like to come on as well. It'll all be dependent on timetables, etc. working. But we'll have a busy old week this week, I think, and obviously catching up from the holiday break and start to pointing more at what's going to be happening in the next few months as well. Yeah, busy. As I said at the start, it was kind of like we thought, should we just, have a chill one and kind of get into the year? And it's like, if we'd have done that, it's like, Chewie, when you've got a job to do and you've got to get 10 things done by Sunday, so you can do 3 a day and you end up doing 9 of them on Sunday afternoon. If we had had a chilled one today, it might have ended up being that we'd have everything to fit into the last few weeks of the election cycle. So we're going to hit the ground running.
You just described half of this. This was not done today.
Okay. And are there any comments or conversations around what happened to the Palestinian flag, the Ukrainian flag? Have you bowed to the right-wing cucks? Have you?
Nobody's mentioned it, but they're still there. They're
good.
always there.
Yeah, they're always there. And other than that, I spent a whole freaking day, like a whole day, like 8 hours of a day, fixing up the credits, going through all of the, there was like 600 names on there because there was plenty of names of people who had stopped being patrons, and a few who had started being patrons, and a few who were on there twice, and a few who had changed levels, and I hadn't got around to changing. But I'm pretty sure that we have a pretty good list now, like a pretty accurate list. So I'm going to play you the credits for you in just a second. Just make sure you sort of be aware of them. And let me just say, or what?
Before we go, before you hit the credits, I do want to link back to something before we go.
Okay, let me just say this because I think I can't actually tell how far back we've gone. I'll go back probably more than I need to Speed Locked, because I do want to do a shout out to the people who joined the patrons over the holiday period, but my Patreon doesn't quite give me the dates you joined. I don't think. So I'll just go back to make sure I cover everybody and say thanks and congratulations and a huge welcome to Speed Locked NZ, to Barry Innes, to Nobody Nopa, to Ari V. I'm pretty sure we've done Ari before, but you can get 2 shout outs. To Sasha, to Curb Supply, to I'm going to say Dr. Mo, but it's PHMO, to Chris, to My22, to Bronny, to Kim Wilson, to Wayne Nearly, and Talaria, FYI, who have all become patrons in the last kind of month or so. We have a really big year coming up. I don't want you guys to feel like that we're always talking about money, but we live in a world where we need to cover costs of things, especially the people who are putting out the opposing view. In Hipkins' first speech of the year, he said that the right will get 4 times the donations than the left will going into this election. I guess what I'd like to say to you is, if you feel like you can be involved and help through the year with the messaging, because that's what it all comes back to, then we'd love to have you on board some way. We can talk more about that as we go through the week. I don't want to hammer everybody around the head all the time, but patreon.com is a great way to do it. If you run a business, or someone who runs a business, you're interested in looking at those first ever Patreon business accounts. Of course, there's the merch and stuff as well. I like Diary of a CEO, who basically at the end of each podcast was going, the bigger we are, the better guests we'll get. So you should like and subscribe. Like, they were just blunt with it. And I guess it's a mix of not trying to sound like we just want your money or we just want your clicks, but also acknowledging that that is a part of the world today and will help us do the things we want to do. So in saying that, make sure you like and subscribe to everything we're doing and share all our stuff around as well. Before I play the credits, Chewie, you?
Yeah, I just wanted to link back to something because I was trying to hold the thought in my mind while we're talking about that Capitol police officer Fanon that is mentioned.
Yep.
So I want to show you a series of photos of that guy, because it's important for reasons that'll become obvious. There's a very early photo of him. Why can't I? What's going on here?
You have to take mine down. Have you got mine off?
Oh,
you have to take mine off.
Okay. So he's the guy very early in his career. You'll notice he doesn't look like a normal cop. There's a lot of neck tattoos going on there.
A lot of pretty pictures.
A lot of ink there going on. So that's an important photo. This is a photo of him after January 6th. So pretty serious thing. Neck brace on and hospital, wires and tubes coming out of everything. There's a lot of tattoos there as well. This was him at the recent inquiry, or whatever they call it, on Capitol, where they go in and investigate what happened on January 6th. Seems like we might have something in common. He's a Dropkick Murphys fan, same as I am. And right there, this bald guy that he seems very keen to have an exchange of ideas with is I guess the media would describe him as a far-right influencer. I would call him a Nazi, and he was sitting right behind Fanon during this inquiry and has been on social media threatening the rape of his children.
Oh, nice, lovely chap. Take him home to your mother.
So he noticed that this guy was sitting behind him in the break. And this is the back of that Dropkick Murphys t-shirt that says "Fighting Nazis since 1996." Now, people shared this image around and tagged the Dropkick Murphys in, and they actually commented that this officer has been a fan of theirs from day one, and they recall him being there at their first live show. So, yeah, he's a real one, and I'm pretty sure if he wasn't being held back, then that particular Nazi would be probably still searching around under the chairs for missing teeth.
Makes me think. I mean, I was talking to someone today who was talking about our back catalogue. A little bit of a tangent here. I've spoken to some really interesting people over the years to do with Naziism. I'm just trying to. His name was Christian Picciolini. No, there he is. This guy here, Christian Picciolini. I grab mine back. That's what I do. That one there at the stage. Way back in the day, you can see how popular I was. 145 views. Christian Picciolini is a really interesting cat. He is
incredibly interesting. Yes.
Yeah. Maybe I should. Someone encouraged me the other day that maybe I should do some back catalogue stuff.
Yeah, re-up it. That's a good one.
Yeah, Christian Picciolini is a real interesting cat in that world. And like, if you want to get more sort of the political sense of it, this guy here, Professor David Goldberger, I've talked to some wicked people. Let's see how popular it was, 151 views. You know, they talk about the Skokie case where the ACLU defended the Nazis and their right to free speech. That's a really famous case around the world. That's the guy who defended it. That's the lawyer who was defending them. A Jewish professor, David Goldberger. And so there's some interesting stuff there. Maybe I should go through the back catalogue. There's like 250 of those. I should start re-upping some of those back catalogues, because now that we've got an audience, they might get some views. They surely didn't back then. I had to be a Ruby Tui one, and that got views. But
not to spoil it too much, but the guy that you're talking about had been
Christian
in the Nazi movement.
Yeah.
And had literally had a come to Jesus moment, and moved to punk rock, which certainly helped as well. But has become a very prominent anti-Nazi and getting people out of that neo-Nazi scene. So that's
his job. Chat. Yeah. All right, I'll think about that. There's some resources there. Like, for example, I noticed over the weekend, I did a chat last year on Ratana with a colleague of mine, and I was watching it with my wife, and she said, "Why haven't you uploaded that again this year?" And I was like, yeah, maybe because he was talking all about, his name is Keith Newman. He's written the book on Ratana. He was talking about who the T.W. Ratana actually was and what he was about, sort of thing. And I didn't do it, so maybe I will. Maybe we'll do some stuff for patrons. Actually, that's not a bad idea. Maybe we'll get some gold for patrons and put it back up there. All right, team, you're a beautiful bunch of fluffy ducks, and that's us for our first episode for today. We are approaching 2 hours. We'll be a 2 hour plus show once we're done, because this
was always going to be a big one.
Always going to be a big one. Thank you for being with us on the very first night. Even though I've said there are some ideas for commentary and stuff this week and guests for this week, nothing's been set up yet, but we'll let you know as soon as we don't know what's going on for tomorrow night's show and from there on in. So thanks for joining us, and welcome back to 2026, whānau. Going to be a huge one. This is Big Hairy News.
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have the hand out for rewards, while the many have to work at what they can't afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting peas from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a warpath to run, and linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe with the A.
Was just thinking, Chewie, I've just realised doing a cracker of a show for the first one, how do we top it? Maybe we should have done a really bad show, and then we've got to come back tomorrow and be a little bit better, or else we just stay up at this peak and we never come down for the whole year.
Part of the attraction is finding out how wildly inconsistent we might be.
All right, that's it for me. Anything else from you, Chewie?
No, that's all from me. Actually, no, it's not. Enroll to vote. Check your enrollment details. Start now and continue doing it. Do it for other people.
We will catch you again tomorrow night for the next edition of Big Hairy News. Hooroo!
Cheers, fam.